right, so here we are at our last code up for the coffee run, and it's really fun, I think, to actually see this end chapter bring everything together. Because in any kind of application that you make, you're going to need to write something out, most likely to a server, right? And then know how to process that data from the local client into the server. And so they're using Ajax here in the book to do this. And they're actually calling a RESTful service on Heroku that they've already set up. And I think that's one of the points in the book that they didn't really talk about. And it's really understandable why, but I think it's really important to understand, at least conceptually, that they wrote some APIs on the Heroku server that handles these methods that you're calling when you call that server URL. So, that's kind of obscured away from you. And it's good to know. So the other thing that's really good to know is that, Ajax has been around a long time, and what it used to mean and what it means now is a little different, because now it's a larger term that encapsulates anything that's asynchronously processed. So I will tell you, the other thing I think it would be good to understand is the difference between the API fetch and this XHM HTTP request, which is really just your Ajax. Okay, so I think doing a little research, and I think I may have asked you, actually, let's see here. I think I'd ask you, yeah, so I actually put that in the questions. Okay, so I think, contextualizing like this is, and it's Ajax is still widely used. Okay, I'm not saying it's not, but fetch is quickly replacing some of that functionality because it's a newer API, more it gives you more features, but it still lacks. Matter of fact, that's what this article indicates. But I think I was looking at the dates on these. Yeah, so this was last year, right? And you can look down to here. And by the way, when you're looking at Stack Overflow, it is important to understand generally your more current answers are on the bottom. So let me validate that. November, right? Or are they on the top? 16th, right? So yeah, actually, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is November 2016 that this answer was posted, right? So towards the end of November, and this was at the beginning of November 20 or February, right? So the beginning of the year. So yeah, so the more current, actually I was wrong, the more current answers at the bottom. That makes sense, right? So the latest posted ones. So it's good when you're looking, I think my whole point here is that when you're looking at Stack Overflow, reading through here is important to read all the way through, because sometimes it starts with, and it's good to also look at where it's voted up or down, right? So and notice how that's not the way they're sorted on the page, okay? Anyway, I digress for a little bit. So back here. So as we've done before on this last one, I have some questions I want you to answer. And it'll be very interesting to see what your answer to this last one is, because this last one is not handled in the book. And I want to see if you get why if the answer, what your answer is here. Okay. But I just say that this is one way in the book's way of showing you how to implement storing data to the server. Of course, I will be using in my example Firebase for this, right? It'll be implemented a little differently, but this concept is in the sense that it's the same, that it's going to take the form data, or in my case, the results of the kitty cat play and the score, but it's something I need to work on, right? This is stuff I still got to work out, is how it's going to store that stuff to the Firebase server. And the reason I like the Firebase server, let me just finish my thought, instead of the Roku, is that I can also host it up there, okay? And there's just, to me, a lot more functionality, things I'd want on that service. But you are welcome to check out Heroku, because I know that there's also a free part of Heroku that you can use, and I know there's other instructors here at Fresno City College. Brian Baker used this when he taught server side, when he taught Ruby. He used the Heroku servers. All right, so this is your last, as I said before, your last code up, and I'm trying to get ahead, a little ahead of the game because if you didn't hear me say this, I'm traveling this week, and this week meaning week 12. Okay, so the last thing I need to do for this week 13 is the develop it for. And I'm planning on doing that when I return. So let me be clear here. Okay, looking at the calendar, what today is. Okay, so for me today is Halloween. Okay, and the item I just finished with a code up, you don't have until next week. Okay, right. So this code up right here is not due until the 9th. So let me just go back. Oop, go back one more week. How about that? Not a month. So this code up that I just finished, right? So here we are. So it won't be due until next week. Oh, I was right. Yeah. So the second. I don't know why I was looking at that wrong. Right. So the 9th here. So it won't be due this code up in here. And the Saturday then would be our next develop it. Okay, which would be here, the Sunday night. So my plan is that now that I've released this, that my next step will be to do the develop for, but I'm going to do it in that week that I get back. Okay, after I've traveled, just because I'm trying to get my presentation done, right? So you will see this. So next week, I will work on this on Monday and Tuesday, that last item, which there's nobody in this class that's working ahead that much for me to be too concerned about you not having it. But having said that, I've already given you a clue about what 4 is going to be, which is basically developing or finishing your project scope. So it's not as if you can't continue, even if you were, ahead of the game, which right now there nobody is. But if you happen to get there, is that you'll finish the draft of this. Okay, so as I said here, and you'll start the module development. So you'll finish in the 4 that. So anyway, I'm just giving you kind of the lay of the land. And that's where my schedule, I'm just communicating my schedule to you so that you will know. Okay? All right, I hope you have a good Halloween, or I'm sure you've watched this after Halloween, which is totally cool. So I hope you have a good rest of wherever you're at in the time and space reality that you watch this. Have a good one. Talk to you later.